What's up, fam? So many beautiful, gorgeous people here. Love seeing it. The reality is that the majority of this group is pretty advanced. So when we were connecting about topics, the concept of new customer approach came up. And so um, I'm going to share with you guys a couple of things. One is just going to be a good resource. This is one of my favorite free resources we have from Vast Action, but we do freely share these. This is Kaden Koopman and I probably spent over like 50, 60 hours last year organizing this. So if you want to know what it looks like, what it sounds like, the flow of it, this is our new customer approach. And as far as today goes, I mean, you guys are all pretty much epic badasses that have been around for a while. So instead of talking about the nuances typically that we would talk about the new customer approach, I'm going to share with you guys just two different ways from like an advanced perspective to consider your new customer approach. Some of these things I'm actually going to be sharing today have been happening with some conversations over the last 2 years that I've had with Brandon Brown, and they've been really effective when I've shared them before, and I hope that they're effective for you. The truth is, like back when I started, and some of the people here, like when we first started, I started in 2007. There weren't even pitches. I got in a booth with Curtis JQ, so I said, what do I say? And he said, just ask them if they know what Cutco is, and you'll know what to say from there. So, anyway, that's what it was back in the day. It's beautiful today to have such streamlined, like actual strategies and conversation flows. But when you consider your new customer approach, here's a couple questions I want you to be asking yourself. In the new customer approach, uh, every single thing that I am saying is moving me closer or further away from a sale. So am I confident that every time I talk to a non-Cutco owner, that every word is moving me closer to a sale? Do I understand what I'm accomplishing with each section that I am benchmarking in my new customer approach? At the highest level of sales, the highest level of salespeople have a strategy, they have a script, they have a pitch, they have a process that not only do they know the words that they're saying or the perfect thing to rattle off afterwards or what's next, but at the highest level, top performing salespeople know what they want their customer to be thinking. And even more, they want to have control over what their customers are feeling. So, do you have a good understanding of what you want your customers to be thinking at different parts of your new customer approach? Do you have clarity on how you want your customers to be feeling at different parts of your approach? I think back to Net a couple years ago, and I'll reference Brandon Brown again, but Brandon Brown, I don't know, I want to say maybe it was like Net 2018 or something like that. Everyone was kind of had their brain shattered when he talked about cutting leather. It's just so funny how something so simple is actually designed to have such a strategic, tactful aspect of our new customer pitch. So I want my customers to be thinking, wow. I want my customers to be feeling, I want to know more about this, or I would love it if my knives were like this. So I just definitely recommend that if you guys were to go through, for example, this pitch or your pitch, if there's anything, I just want to challenge and encourage you to have like actually go through the workshop, the process of actually asking yourself, what would I love my customers to be thinking here, and what would I love them to be feeling? Now, there's different levels of confidence in the new customer pitch in this group, but ultimately, I'm a big believer that if you're not a level 10, you might as well be a 0. That's something that Seth Kinzer and I have talked about for years together, and it's something that's really held me accountable to getting to the next level in my business and be effective and efficient when I'm in the booth. And so, if you were to just to consider and rate yourself 1 to 10 on the new customer approach, it'd be really interesting to actually know how you rated yourself. And if you're not a 10, get some clarity on what is going to bridge that gap. So today I'm just going to bring about two different ways to think about your pitches that might bring about some different perspectives of how to actually go about gauging how well am I doing. So the first series I'm just going to go through here is actually called the 7 objectives of a sales pitch. So this was really fascinating. Back in 2018, when I was on the State Fair of Texas team, I had about a I don't know, it was like a $4,200 day average and average day. And when I was going into 2019 at the State Fair of Texas, based off of all of my goals, the number of days I'd be at the booth, I needed to raise that to $6,600 a day average. And that was really nerve wracking because that was about a 50% growth. And I didn't really know like what part of my pitch, like how do I tangibly productively move this forward? And it was actually understanding the objectives of the sales pitch. And so when I went through my sales pitch and I go, how good am I doing, or how good am I at accomplishing each of these objectives? It was really helpful because it was actually gave me an insight on where I needed to increase my level at the booth. And what's really beautiful is in 2019, I finished at $6,700 a day average. And a large part of that was just because of my confidence and my increased average order and closing percentage with new customers. So let's go through some of these things. Number one is permission. Get their permission. What this is it's their commitment to giving you attention. This is the difference between talking at a customer and talking with a customer. And then strategically using quality phrasing and verbiage to continue getting their permission throughout the pitch to continue engaging at a high level. So for example, after the guarantee, but before the sets, a variation of what Matt Graves uses that I have found that really works well for me is, hey, by the way, like just so I know, I can show you some of the package specials we're doing here at the event, but are you wanting to know, like, are you wanting more of just knife sets, or are you wanting more to look at the kitchen packages and just update the whole kitchen? Now, what's really fascinating here is that although it is fun, I've never even actually had anyone have I closed Cutco kitchens at the booth. Yes, it's so awesome. It's so fun. But the truth is that my objective here is just to have them have that like millisecond thought about wanting more than just knives for their kitchen. And at the end of this, my whole goal is that they actually vocalize, oh, we're wanting just to look, or we're just wanting the knife set today. See, if your customer can vocalize, we want a knife set today, you've literally just, like, that's part of your close. Like I just close, I'm a little bit closer to closing when they have vocalized, I want a knife set today. And so it's just a lot easier to say, I want a knife set today versus saying, hey, are you looking for just a couple pieces or more like a block set? It's just easier to say I want a knife set compared to the kitchen. But this is just an example where now I've gotten permission to go through our knife packages and the savings that we have here at the event today. So that's the permission. They're continuing to give permission to engage in this conversation. So how good are you doing at getting that permission the entire time? You're going to know that you are not doing a good job at permission if they're standing away from your booth. If they're not straight up on your booth, shoulders straight on, this is a great indication that we need to get better at getting permission. If they're slightly askewed, if they kind of look like they're about to walk away the whole time you're talking to them, this is another indication that you do not have permission to talk to them. They're non-verbally saying, I am not with you anymore. I want to be that direction. You guys can kind of get the idea here. I would also say if they're not responding very quickly, or if you try to hand them stuff and they hesitate or do not take what you're handing them, these are other indications that you just don't have good permission to continue this conversation. The conversation at that point is just more one-sided, and one-sided conversations don't lead to sales. All right, number 2 is value. We all know what value is. Is the value higher than the price? That's what equals a sale. But the biggest way to add to value is to get anchored in what are the core values of Cutco? Like what makes Cutco Cutco? So are you clear? Like if I were to ask you, like, can you summarize the value proposition of Cutco in less than 10 seconds? You should be able to do that. And in addition to that, I would say that the second biggest way to add value is by being the doctor, finding out where it hurts. They say people will pay a lot more for medication than they will for vitamins. The whole concept is here is that you're going to have a far bigger closing percentage if you can connect with people's pain points. So what are their pain points? Are they 55 years old and they've literally burned through at this point of their life like 6 knife sets that all have just turned to garbage? Do they have the pain point that they know what Cutco is and they've been thinking about it and they're wanting it, but they keep putting it off? Well, the pain point is that if you're going to get it at some point anyway, it's just going to cost you a hell of a lot more. And how many more meals are you going to go with the garbage knives you have right now? So identify what their pain points are. There's quite a few different pain points. We can go through that if you guys like. But here are 2 Cutco value points that should be like in your soul, like understood, and like you're breathing the confidence of these value points. Cutco is the buy once, cry once option. We eat every day, so it makes sense to invest in something good once. I'd say that another good value proposition point is that here at the event today, here on your appointment today, whatever the interaction is, our job is to help save you more now, so you spend later or less later on the Cutco you're going to get at some point eventually anyway. Number 3, package focus. I believe that most people here are package focus. But it's something to like kind of gauge yourself, right? If you're rating yourself on each of these layers, does your booth convey packages? Does your pamphlets and booth brochures convey packages? Do your price sheets convey packages? Do your scripts communicate packages? Do you have a strong backbone theme of packages at your booth? You know, at your booth, do you just have a couple of pans or do you have the complete set of pans? At your booth, you know, do you actually have do you have an accessory package? You know, I highly recommend joining the Fire booth display group me. I use it all the time for inspiration on better ways on how I can make my booth beautiful. But I'd say that a really great thing that we added, I want to say it was maybe at the end of this last year, you can go through the photo album library and you can actually see what an accessory package looks like. And I can't tell you how many more cookware sets, package sets, how many more accessory package sets we sell because we take on this package theme. I also believe that self-awareness is key here. Are you familiar with, do you have clarity on what are the top 1 or 2 things holding you back from selling more packages? We'd have to do a more further in-depth dive into that, like on personal basis. But if you're not selling as many packages as you would like, then this is going to be a clear indication that going through an exercise like that would be very helpful and would have a positive impact on your closing percentage with new customers. Number 4 is price. Again, value over cost, right? This is the second part of that aspect. This is price positioning. I would say that at a fundamental level, we need to be asking we need to be clear before going into closing. Can this customer afford this even if they wanted to? You know, if you've ever had the customer that's like, oh, how much is the big set? Oh, I'm just going to wait until I do the whole thing. Guys, that's a budget problem. So we need to be really good at pivoting from this. Like we didn't do a good enough job identifying the correct package that they could even get if they wanted to. So how would that ever convert to a sale? Does your customer think and feel when they see the price, oh, that makes sense? Or are they thinking, wow, that's a lot more than I was expecting? Or man, that makes me uncomfortable? Or are they thinking, oh, wow, that's actually a lot less than I thought it would be? So when you're going through your new customer approach, like these are the types of things that you need to be asking yourself in each section. How do I want my customers to be thinking and feeling? And when it comes to price, I want my customers to be thinking both of those things. That makes sense. And that's less than I thought it would be. Number 5 is going to be trust. So this is going to be at a higher level of mirroring and matching your customer. The second part I'm going to be talking about is buying personalities, and it'd be kind of fun to dig a little bit deeper into this. But on a level with a group like this, I would just say, we all understand like how to stand or sit, if a customer's crossing their arms or this or that. But if you want to get to a higher level of mirroring and matching, can you match their tonality, their volume, their cadence, and their breathing? When you can match when you can get that in depth on matching, like mirroring, that's going to be next level. Are you coming from a purpose of service, or do you have commission breath? Are you actually fun and engaging? Are you an experience? Everybody knows Danny is an experience at the booth. No one will ever forget Mr. Chorizo after connecting with him at the booth day. Now, I'm not saying you have to be Danny Energy, but are you a highlight of their day? Like when they go home tonight, are they gonna, and they're remembering like that cool event that they went to, their fair, their home show, their trade show, are they gonna be talking about you later? They should. Be the professional. Have confidence and conviction in your suggestions. There's a book that came out this last year, and it talked about the likability factor. And one of the summarized aspects of that I thought that was really fascinating was that they actually broke down the likability factor as warmth times confidence. Now just remember, anything times 0 is 0. So if you're completely competent, but you have 0 warmth, that is still a 0 likability factor. If you are the kindest, most awesome, amazing, personable person ever, but you just have no idea what you're talking about, you don't understand the process that you're working through in your script and your pitch, if you're not progressively every word getting closer to a sale, then you're still at a 0 likability factor because you're just not competent. So we can increase this, and you guys probably would be kind of fun to like just 1 out of 10 rate yourself on these different areas and just consider what this would be on 100, out of 100 spectrum. Like what level are you at? And what would it look like for you to get over, like what would it take for you to get over 90? In many cases, in my experience, I would probably be a high level likability factor in the morning. But I know that like when I look at my 2018 results, my likability factor would go down right around 2 p.m. So this isn't just who you are at all times. Like, what is your likability factor at hour 7 of an event compared to hour 1 of an event? What is your likability factor every 10 minutes? I'm not saying you have to do this all the time, but that's something that's really interesting to consider. And for me, I was like, well, shit, like I didn't get enough sleep last night. And so now my likability factor is lower. I didn't bring water with me to the event. I'm freaking dehydrated and I feel like shit and I have a headache. My likability factor went down. I didn't eat and then I freaking gorged on a massive lunch and now I'm just freaking bogged down. My likability factor goes down. So what would it look like to maintain a high level performing likability factor 100% when you're playing on the field of Cutco? This will increase your trust. Number 6 is enthusiasm. Some of the old, original sales gurus back in the day would always talk about, I don't know, I think they put it in my Cutco training back in the day too, the last 4 letters, IASM, I am sold myself. I know that you guys are sold on Cutco, but are you sold on your customer getting Cutco right now, right here today? And I would argue that many reps that I see behind the booth, or many of the reps that I work with, that they do not have 100% level 10 out of 10 belief that their customers should be buying Cutco right now, right here from me at this booth. So it would be really interesting to consider where are you at on this? Enthusiasm is a simple thing. It's a transfer of belief and energy. We know that you believe in Cutco, but do you believe in them getting Cutco right now, right here? Do you honestly believe at your deepest core that you are doing your customer a disservice by letting them walk away? This is what we're talking about as a 10 out of 10 conviction. If I do not help this person who came to me because they have interest in a problem, if I do not help them solve that problem, if I do not help them get started with Cutco today, not only do they miss out on me, which, right, everyone here is amazing. I'm amazing. They're missing out, but they're going to waste so many more meals with the same issues that they currently have while also spending a shit ton more on Cutco later on when they eventually get it. So we need to bring a 10 out of 10 conviction that we are sold on finding a solution for them today. And number 7 is urgency. Why now? Why you? Why here? Why today? Are you considering every single part of your pitch? What are you doing at any given time during your script to answer these questions? The questions being why now, why here, why today? We need to be saying today all the freaking time. If you notice a little bit before, hey, are you wanting more of just knife sets, or are you wanting more of just knife sets, or are you wanting more like to look at the whole kitchen package and just rip the Band-Aid off and update the whole kitchen today? Right? We just need to bring that level of urgency into our verbiage. We need to bring it into this conversation. What are you doing to make them feel special? Closing is an emotional aspect. So what are you doing to present yourself in a way that you're going above and beyond for every single client? This really changed for me when I stopped showing all of my cards before the price. So now I'm not backing myself into a corner. I'm not presenting and leveraging myself on price alone, but more on value. I used to just leverage myself on price, and then I would just get into these negotiation conversations that were more of arguments, and no one wins an argument in sales, especially the sales rep. But I say this because when I show the flatware package, I'm holding back the serving pieces. When I'm talking about complete sets, even though we know that there's steak knives in the set, the customer's you're going to have some observant people, but most reps don't know that customers aren't really thinking about steak knives. So bringing up steak knives after the price. Oh, by the way, your set actually is going to come with over $1,000 of steak knives, right? With holding on to some cards, like instead of saying, oh, by the way, with your order today, we also include a care kit. No, hold on to that shit so that after the price, we have some cards left up our sleeve. And when we reveal these cards after the price, we actually increase the perceived value. So I know we're not talking about new customer approach, but for example, with Ultimate Upgrades, every single one of my Ultimate Upgrades is priced out with 12 steak knives. It just makes sense. It's also one less decision that they have to make because no one's going to love making that decision right then and there. It actually doesn't, in my opinion, progress us productively towards a sale. So if we just assume and they don't want it, well, now I'm in a position where my price positioning is good and I can drop down if needed. But if I assume that it's the 12 steak knives, and we're talking about how most of the Cutco knives are that $100 to $300 price range, and we're talking about 9 pieces in a block, it's really easy to justify the 3,000-ish, CP or $3,000-ish price tag. Wrap it all with a great bow that we incentivize it to come with the block now. If you're going to get it eventually anyway, everything's organized in the block. It saves you more money now versus buying it later. And then later on after the pricing, be like, oh, by the way, I almost forgot. This package also includes almost $1,000. You get 12 steak knives in this set. See, when they go from the like what are they thinking and feeling, I want them to already think that it makes sense when I'm talking about the price. I want them to actually be thinking like, wow, I'd actually maybe consider that, or I kind of maybe want that, but that might be just a little bit more than I'm comfortable spending. But now afterwards, when we bring in the care kit, now afterwards when we bring in the serving set, now afterwards when we bring in the steak knives on the upgrades, now we're revealing more of our cards. The perceived value goes up, and we're doing something a little bit special to sweeten the deal and earn their business today. This is really great after the confirmation questions. Things like, hey, if this, let's just say we were doing this right now, what color would you choose for the handles? What color are your cabinets? Okay, well, they'd probably do this block. Is that what you'd be wanting? By the way, dropping the word want all the time, incredibly valuable in the verbiage aspects. Hey, and this price is something we could swing if we really wanted to, or is that pushing the envelope too much today? Okay, you could. Cool. This is where I wasn't a big fan of this early on, but when I understood how to use the scale of 1 to 10, that metric aspect, this has actually became a really helpful tool for me. Okay, great. Well, it sounds like you like it. Sounds like you want it. Sounds like you're going to eventually get it. Sounds like you could do it if you wanted to. On a scale of 1 to 10, just shoot me straight. 1 being, shut up, Luke. I'm ready to go on to the next thing. And 10 being, here's my card. I'm ready to do it. This is what color I want it in. Where would you rate yourself on getting it right now? Now, if they say a 5 or below, my my favorite reply is to just break the tension with some humor. Like, oh man, I got to get a lot better at this job, huh? Now, if that's the case, it kind of breaks the tension, and then you can kind of navigate it from there. But obviously, that's not like a great aspect. You definitely want to pivot and drop down and find out, like, oh, well, it sounds like this is actually not that much. Based off what you were saying, it sounded like this was what you were wanting. But it sounds like this is not the right package. Like, what pieces would you just not use that would be, what pieces would you not get rid of that would be probably a little bit more of what you would consider today, right? I don't know. You can navigate that conversation. If they say 6 or more, then I will literally say this. Well, you're closer to a 10 than a 0, and it's my job to help you get what you want. So would you be cool just knocking out right now if I did something a little extra special for you to earn your business right now? And yeah, I pretty much repeat right now in that sentence because we're bringing a higher level of urgency. But we're accomplishing a lot of things. We're going above and beyond. We're going a little special. This is what we call a test close. This isn't a hard close. This is a soft close. This is getting us to that, like getting them to the point where they could even think like, this is why top reps, if you're ever with a top rep in the booth, it's like, oh my gosh, clothing was just so smooth. It's like they just want to buy it from them. Well, it's because the top reps are actually making a smooth landing for their customers. So many people jump the gun, and when someone tells you they need to think about it, that's the biggest indication that you're asking too early. But when it comes to urgency, hey, it sounds like logically this makes sense. So if I helped make you feel special, would you go ahead and just do it right now so I can earn your business right now? Just telling customers, I want to earn your business. I'm willing to do something a little extra special to earn your business right now. That is just it. Just saying those words, it just does something special with those people who are actually considering it. It puts you over the edge. So what we just went through was the 7 objectives of a sales pitch: permission, value, package focus, price, trust, enthusiasm, and urgency. You need all 7 of these together. It's kind of like it's like Captain Planet. I don't know. It's like the, like you need all the stones in the wrist gauntlet thing, right? Like with their powers combined, this is what creates sales. You need to be a level 10 out of 10 on each and every one of these, and you need to have each of these metrics actually being accomplished in your pitches, and this will yield more sales in your new customer approach. Now, a little bit before I mentioned that we would be talking a little bit about trust, mirroring, and matching. So this is just the second part, not going to be as long, but this is something that was really fascinating. I got a little bit more educated on last year. It's not exactly the same as, oh man, what's that personality type that was CVI? If you understand CVI, you will kind of actually have an inclination into this aspect of working better with customers. But this is called the Bolt personality types. This is the personality types that are specific to buying personalities. So for this second aspect of how to consider and think about your new customer approach, because many of you guys already know the words, you guys have already been really actually quite successful. Many of you guys built careers out of this. So how do we talk about this at a higher level? It's just making you think about it a little bit differently. Well, we all have these different personalities that approach the booth, and yet we have kind of this in many shapes and sizes, like this one script fit all kind of aspect with Cutco. And so what's really interesting here is that if you can do better at getting more educated on the Bolt personality styles, you can actually cater and adjust this fixed script that we have in Cutco to actually connect with your customers better. So the Bolt personality stands for Bolt, B-O-L-T, bull, owl, lamb, and tiger. So just to give you guys, this is mostly just to educate you guys. You guys can cater it to your customers if you like, and we'll have just a little bit of time for Q&A as well here. But we all know those bull personality types. These buyers are no nonsense. They're result oriented. They seek direct information. They make quick decisions. They prioritize efficiency and are often driven by competitive advantage. Now, just to bring this in to a comparison for a vastly different personality type, the owl. The owl is not so in your face, not so quick. In fact, owls tend to really be indecisive. These can be those people that just hum and haw, and you're like, for the love of knives, just make a decision. Like I got things like I could be working on stuff right now. I could be talking to other people. Like, let's go, right? So with owls, they're far more analytical. They're far more detail oriented. You will know your owl personality types when they key into details. If they ask you about, so how exactly does that forever guarantee work? Like, how do I get these knives sharpened? Like that might be an owl personality type. With owls, like I'm very much a conceptual salesperson, just knowing myself. I don't like price is just a thing. It's like, can I justify the price? Like that, is the value higher than the price? Like I'm a sale, right? But not everyone is like that. For some people, they need to have the specifics of their pricing. Your owl customers, think about this. If you've ever had a person that's brought to your attention that on what you said and that the exact price of your like on your order form or something was off, like these people need it to the cent. You might relate to this with people that you've sold to at the booth, where you're kind of like, oh well, this package is like this and we do like this percentage off, and like these people are like, so what would that be exactly? And now all of a sudden they're like, well, I thought you said that the deal was over here. And all of a sudden we can actually lose out on owls because they're not in the conceptual space. They're in the tangible number space, very analytical, very detail oriented. So with these people, I just cut out all the fluff. I pull out the pen and paper. I have the deal pad, I got the deal pad and the sales sheets right in front of me because I don't want to talk myself out of a sale by confusing them. So these people are drawn to comprehensive solutions and seek to understand why behind recommendations. So the concept is here, we have very few, Cutco has not done a very good job recruiting, in the CVI world. This would be, what is that? What is like the equivalent of owl in CVI? Someone help me out, right?
Bankers.
The banker, like your freaking Josh Mollers, okay? Josh Moller, heavy banker, okay? There are very few bankers. And why? Because the interview pitch is not that detail oriented. The training wasn't that detail oriented. It was like, oh, like, yeah, we get this program, we give you a knife kit, right? So we didn't do a great job. But with your customers, right, if you treat an owl like you treat a bull, that is not going to lead to a sale. You need to cater and adjust appropriately. So the owl compared to the bull, right? The bull is going to be a lot more just like walk up to you with how much is this set? Tell me about your knives. You start talking too much, you don't do it right, and after like 5 seconds, they're like, ah, and they just walk away. Like, these are like your bull personalities, just very like get to the point. So let's talk about lambs and tigers. So the lamb buying personality in the CVI, now again, I say this isn't CVI because it's not. There's actually a couple differences. But in the CVI world, your lamb is very much like your merchants. These people are very relationship oriented. They're very value driven. These people tend to, when they buy, be a lot more loyal. Lambs prioritize trust. They prioritize rapport. They enjoy collaboration. They often seek input from multiple team members. And lastly, tigers. These are like tigers don't really have a CVI, but if they did, this is like you're boisterous, you're gregarious, you're loud. These people are going to be wearing name brands. It's going to be very ego led. They're going to buy the big set because it's badass, not because it makes sense. These people like flexing. These people are on it, and these people are really fun to sell to. But what kind of personality are you? That's a really great thing to get some like clarity on and understand that not everyone is going to make decisions the way that you make decisions. So understanding these 4 prototypes, the BOLT, the bolt buying personality types, can just help you reflect on your pitch on how you can cater to these different personality types to get that much more leverage when you're talking with your new customers that don't own Cutco already. So at Tigers, yeah, I already gave enough examples, and we want to have enough time for Q&A here. But ultimately, by understanding these personality types, you can tailor your communication and approach your scripts to resonate better and clearer and more effectively with each buyer type and just increase your closing average percentage. So I hope that from this, it gives you some clarity into just some different perspectives than your typical new customer approach on how you can take your new customer approach next level.
Awesome. Man, Luke, I feel like that was like fire right there. I think a lot of us were just furiously writing notes. I'm glad that you posted a lot of these things in the chat because I could just like copy and paste them into a note on my computer, and that way I could write more detailed notes and not have to be like writing it out. um, so does anyone have any questions for Luke?
How do you identify what somebody is?
Yeah, so number one is just understanding the different personality types. And then number two is going to come from experience. So let's just talk through some of these. Bulls are going to tell you, get to the point. Just tell me what it is. Very simple, very clear. A lot of business owners are bulls. Like as I'm saying these things, you're probably picturing certain customers that you've experienced at the booth. These people are going to be like, come on, just get to the point. Let's go. Right? Owls are going to do a lot more of like holding the knives. I find them a lot to like be using their hands, licking their lips. Like they're a lot slower. They're analyzing it. Lambs, I would just think of like literally I would almost just plug and play merchant personalities to lambs. So lambs, these are going to be the people like they're going to ask you if you have kids. They're going to want to know what your story is. Lambs are going to be a little bit more touchy-feely. So they might laugh and touch your arm, or they might be more receptive if you do any of Uh, if you do any touching, which is a really interesting thing to consider actually during your pitches, is how often, like who are you touching, how often, how and why. But they're going to be a little bit more of the touchy feely. And then you'll just know tigers. These are like literally, I just think of like gregarious. You're going to know these people, but like these people are going to walk with a swagger. These people are going to be wearing, the ladies are going to be having the Louis Vuitton purses. These are going to be, these are going to be your brand name type people. Like these people are like they're dressing to impress. These people typically tend to be louder, more boisterous. So these are just some of the ways that I think about these personalities on how I can key into them. But what I recommend doing is as you guys go into some of your busy season here, after each interaction, ask yourself, hey, what kind of personality type do I think that was? And what did I learn from that? And how would I approach that personality type better in the future? And that's whether you got the sale or not. But by going through this and being educated that there are different buying personalities and asking yourself that question, I would probably say within the next, I would probably say within the next 3 events, you'd be significantly more keyed into identifying what these are quickly and how you will cater your approaches for them.
I have one more question. How do you dig up the pain and find their pain points? What are some of the things you ask? What are the things you do to find their pain points around knives? and
Number
kids and stuff?
one, yeah, totally. So number one way to find out what people's pain points are is to be an information gatherer. So many people just want to tell the clients how great Cutco is and how great they should have it. But that's like, think of it like there's 2 different things that I like to think about here. Okay, so number one is the first thing is be like a doctor. A lot of Cutco reps are bad doctors. The client will come, the patient will come in, and reps just want to tell them what it looks like to be healthy, that they should be healthy, and here's what being healthy is, and it's more valuable to be healthy than not healthy. But that doesn't help us actually solve the problem. We need to be better doctors. We need to get more information. Hey, tell me where it hurts. How long has it been hurting? What are the things like, okay, based off of you're telling me, it sounds like, and then we can put it together. It sounds like, oh, your back's hurting. Okay. Do you have grandkids? Okay. So it probably sucks every time your grandkids want to hang out, go to the park, swim, or wrestle because you just can't do jack squat because you can't get your booty off the couch. Boom. We just hit a pain point. So what does this look like for knives? What I will do, I didn't prepare for this. I could see that actually being more helpful. I'll hang on for just a little bit and actually post some of the common pain points that we've identified with this. But one big pain point is okay, a common question we like to ask is, so how long have your knives not been cutting it for? A couple days, or sorry, a couple weeks, couple months, couple years. If you are not finding out how long their knives have not been cutting well, like we are just missing out. Like we know that they're here because the knives suck, but are you actually asking them how long their knives have been garbage for? This is incredibly important. Wow, it's been years. Wow, you've been thinking about, like, all of a sudden now we can tie this to handling an objection of I need to think about it. Wow, you've already been thinking about updating your knives for years. I'm so glad we connected today so we can solve this problem so you never have to deal with this ever again. Just so I know what's been holding you back. Right? Now we can get some more information. Okay, it sounds like it's been a while. What else have you looked at besides Cutco so far? Now all of a sudden we're gaining ammunition that we can fuel our pitch. You know, if I were to walk into an Apple store and they've got the brand new $1,600, terabyte, mega iPhone 3000, am I going to buy it more because that person's like, oh my gosh, this is so great. It's new. It's what everyone wants. check this out. It's got a terabyte of information and, you know, all this shit. Like it can do all these things. Like they're talking at me. But if they're gaining information, hey, like, hey, I'm coming in. Can you tell me a little bit about that phone? Hey, I'm actually not sure that this is the right phone for you. Real quick, just so I know, so I can have some better information. What do you use your phone for? Do you use it for play? Do you play games on there? Are you just emailing and texting? Do you ever take Zoom meetings from your call? Do you have kids or grandkids? Oh, you do? So it sounds like you need to be able to have really fast, you know, reliable service. And, you know, a lot of my customers that have kids just tell me how frustrating it is that all the videos and pictures just fill up their, you know, memory on their phone, and then their phone starts lagging. Does that sound about right to you? Yes, that's so frustrating. Well, based off that information, I actually would recommend this new latest and greatest. It's got a terabyte of memory on there. So it's gonna take you, you know, whatever, like it would take you a hell of a lot of kid videos and kid pictures to fill this up. What we just did was we just hit into a pain point and created a solution for now today. By the way, we're actually running this promotion. If you trade in your phone right now this weekend, because of the Mother's Day special that we're already running right now, then this not only locks you into it, we'll add in this headset for free, and it gets you 6 months of Disney Plus as an extra bonus. I don't know, I'm just adding some shit in there, but sometimes it's better to think about Cutco through like different lens. So with new customers, I'd say that that's one really big thing. How long have the knives not been cut for? What else have you looked at? What's kept you from buying knives so far? If you want to go really deep into it, it goes like, oh man, so like when you're trying to slice tomatoes, you're just getting squished tomato salsa everywhere, huh? Okay, like what was the most recent time that the knives frustrated you? No, wait, tell me about what was going on. Now you can, like, if you want to, you can actually go into them talking about a frustrating experience. Have you ever been totally completely fine, and then you thought of a situation or experience, or you're talking out, or you're telling a story, and all of a sudden, right, like maybe it just really frustrated you, or maybe it just made you sad, and you started to talk it out, and as you're talking it out, those feelings start to flow up. Well, if you can accomplish that with your customer, get them to get those feelings really high because they were just hosting Easter and their knives freaking sucked. There wasn't a sharp knife in the house and it just is so frustrating and da da da. Well, now you're elevating emotion, and emotion is really what's going to help put us over the edge when it comes to closing. So we do need it to make logical sense, but are you helping raise emotion with your customers? The last thing I'll leave you with on this topic, let's just say Cutco owners. I know we're mostly talking about this, but let's talk about Cutco owners. 3 things that I have found that help me sell, thousands of upgrades. Do you ever grill, barbecue, or smoke meats? Do you ever entertain for the holidays or even small family get-togethers ever? You probably don't do this much, but do you ever wrestle with the tough to cut foods like squash, sweet potatoes, or watermelons? So do you ever go barbecue smoke? Do you ever entertain for the holidays or even small family get-togethers? Do you ever wrestle with tough to cut foods like squash, sweet potatoes, or watermelons? If they say yes to any of these 3, those are your pain points of why they should upgrade to an Ultimate. The more of those 3 that they say yes to, the more that they qualify for an Ultimate. Because, to be honest, the Homemaker does not have very many meat knives in it. The galley set arguably has a meat knife in it, but definitely not for brisket, right? Or larger roasts and things, right? They're gonna wrestle with the squash, the sweet potatoes, and watermelon. They're gonna spend more on an emergency bill fixing their severed finger than they will on the Ultimate upgrade that they should have bought from you because we didn't do a good enough job solving their problem and outfitting them with the right tools to attack those foods and vegetables. And if they entertain, they don't have the best entertaining pieces. And with a galley set, we know that whole set's dirty and messy. Like they're burning through those pieces when they should have more pieces to cook with. So these are just some of those examples that we could be utilizing. And earlier, like I mentioned, It sounds like you're gonna do it. So if you're gonna do it at some point eventually anyway, you might as well just do it while it's on sale and it makes sense. Right? A huge pain point is procrastination is expensive with Cutco. Have you ever waited on an airline ticket, Miss Jones, and then paid a lot more for it later on? That's exactly what it's like with Cutco. Procrastination is expensive. I'd rather do something a little bit extra to go above and beyond and just earn your business on this today, because I don't care what you get today. I'm here because I want your future business. I want to do such a good job for you that I am your go-to guy when you need your pots and pans, when you need your forks and spoons, when you buy gifts. So it sounds like this is what you're looking for. It sounds like you could do it if you really wanted to. Would you let me earn your business if I just did something a little bit extra to sweeten the deal for you and go above and beyond for you to earn your business right now? Getting passionate over here, getting into it.
I love it. I love it. Anybody else we have time for maybe one more question to wrap it up.
I have a question. So this is awesome. I love this bunch. One of the questions I have, or I guess challenges that I have sometimes, is when you identify what type of client they are, and then, I've always been told like, hey, you should try to mirror and match said client. And I guess my biggest challenge sometimes is always just figuring out like the best ways to mirror and match, besides just like either slowing down how I talk or how I stand. I was wondering if you had any like pointers on that, just like identifying what type of client they are, and then how to match them and do the same things as them.
I would say that the easiest step in the right direction, if this is something that you're like really leaning into, like I'm actually gonna try this. Trying to match their breathing, Luke. Maybe that's just even a little bit more than what I want. Like, what's the first step in the right direction here besides just standing or sitting the way that they stand or sit? I would say match their volume and their speed. If they're talking really fast and they're just really on it and they're just can understand everything that you're saying, they can still stick it with they can still stick with you and they're with it and on it. Like that's one thing versus someone who it's just a lot slower and methodical because they don't have shit to do today and they want to enjoy their time here at the event. And like those are two way different aspects. Also, if someone's really loud, then you can actually match their really loudness. If they're excited, get excited. But if they're like, sometimes you'll notice sometimes with seniors, we got to talk a little bit louder and a little bit slower just so that they can understand and put it together. So I'd say the easiest thing to do here is, can you match volume and speed?
Okay. And then the second part to that as well is obviously, you can match them. Would you say when you're working with a client, is it more beneficial to, like, let's say if we're working with an owl, I mean, is it better to just try to figure out like, hey, these people are thinkers, so we just want to obviously let them think a little bit and then kind of handle those objections in their personality type that way? Or do you feel like mirroring, matching, like how they, the talking, the standing, the postures, or I guess we got to do a little bit of both, but wondering if you're trying to focus on one part or the other, or if neither, like.
Yeah, so let's just say owl personalities specifically. A lot of times I actually won't identify an owl until I'm in closing. Like you'll know a tiger before they even walk up to your booth. You'll know a bull the moment they walk up to your booth. But a lot of times I actually won't identify that someone is an owl until we get to the closing process, because I'm starting to notice how analytical they are. I'm really trying to justify every piece. I need to like know I want to have a use for, like, I don't want, I don't want a bunch. I want these knives, I don't know, just an example. When I identify something, like whenever I find out, like I'm like, oh, this person's an owl, I pull over the stool and I take a seat. I'm going to lower myself socially. I'm gonna make myself less intimidating. I'm gonna slow down to be a little bit more comfortable and friendly, especially when some of these events are very loud and busy. I'm gonna slow it down because they don't want to. If you put them on the spot, they're not gonna make a decision. And then with owls, the last thing that I'll say is I am just a lot more intentional with walking them literally step by step through the closing process. So if we were doing Cutco today, this is the set that you like. This is what you would use. This is like what you would get if we had it, or would you want something smaller or bigger? I would want that set. Okay, checkbox. Okay, cool. And for colors, what color handles do we like the best? The dark. Check the box. And these come in this block. Are you wanting, and this is where I'll introduce the word want, right? Are you wanting more of like a honey oak or more of a cherry oak? Okay, so we want the cherry oak with the dark handles, and it's this set. Okay, cool. And over the 5 months, like, are you more of a pay in full or a split up kind of person? Oh, you're split it up. Okay. And if we split it up, like this amount right here, this is what we could swing if we really wanted to, or this is just pushing the envelope way too much. Okay, we really want to. Okay, so what I hear you telling me is this is exactly what you like, want, and would use. These are the colors you want it in, and you could swing it if you really wanted to. It sounds to me like everything that you're telling me is that this just makes sense to do right now today. Like we're literally walking them through the closing process. Like you essentially you are becoming a better decision facilitator. A lot of times owls will have to think about it, but the problem with our customers, sometimes they need to think about it. And unfortunately, I didn't know this until actually quite a few years in the business. When my customers told me they needed to think about it, I thought that we knew that, like, they knew what they needed to think about. To be honest, half the time, or maybe even more, I would argue maybe more, they don't even know what they need to think about. So when you can eliminate the need to think by becoming a better decision-making facilitator, with owls, you literally walk them step by step to where it makes logical sense. And then when I bring them in, I go, so, like, am I understanding that all of that just makes sense for us to do today? I'm watching their nonverbals, watching the cogs turn, and I go, like, would you at least agree that it makes sense? Now, once I got them to agree that it makes sense, now I'm going to make them feel special to earn their business right here. So that's an example with an owl. So just to recap, I'm gonna, once I identify that they're an owl, I'm pulling out the deal pad because I need it all to be very written out, like articulated. I've got my deal sheets in my deal pad. I lower myself on the stool. I slow down, and then I just become like at a higher level, more intentional about helping them through the decision-making process.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, Luke, thank you so much for your time and for the energy and the knowledge that you provided with us today. I think a lot of people got a lot of value out of that, especially this bolt concept of just really identifying the different types of customers and how to navigate the sales process with them. I think it's really invaluable to have this because I think sometimes we think we need to treat every customer the same, especially when we have a script that we're using and things like that. But it gives us a way to like pivot, with the customer, and I like that a lot. So thank you again, and have a great rest of your night.
Absolutely.